Hello everybody. Welcome back to my house. I'm Lisa with the Quiltmaker Homestead. Today we are making something really fun, super easy, very beginner friendly, and I'm going to walk you through the whole project. Hello everybody. It's so great to see y'all. I hope y'all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I imagine many of you still have full bellies. Yesterday was a light day for us. Our family is getting together on Sunday. So Sunday coming up, like day after tomorrow, is our big food day. So I'm still craving all of the yummy stuff that I've seen pictures all over Facebook. I'm still craving all that stuff, y'all. But Sunday we're getting together. Today is Black Friday. Have y'all been out shopping at all today? Do you have plans to go out at all today? Hi, everybody. We're going to get started here in just a minute. I like to wait a few minutes so that everybody can get notified and come on in. It's so great to see y'all. Sand of the Sun said, I'm still stuffed. That is awesome. That is so awesome. I hope you are. Lisa said earlier she was doing some canning. What are you canning, Lisa? Today we are making this hanging trivet. Isn't that so pretty? I think I'm going to throw this on the embroidery machine sometime coming up and embroider a name in the center of this trivet and give it away as a gift. If you're looking for gift ideas, this is so easy. You could make several of these in one afternoon. I'm going to walk you through it. And take a wild guess where the opening is that I turned this right side out. Hint, it's not along the edge anywhere. Hi, everybody. If you're on Facebook and you saw our newspaper article came out this past week, and that was awesome. And many of you asked because the first page of the article cut off my chocolate cake recipe. I put it down in the description box. If you want a copy of that chocolate cake recipe, I have linked it down in the description box. Hi, everybody. Oh, you're canning sweet potatoes. That is one thing I have not tried yet. It's so great to see y'all. So the chocolate cake recipe is in the description box. It is so good. Pardon me, y'all. My sinuses with the heat on. My nose is all stuffy and then it runs, but it's mostly stuffy. So me talking a lot is a struggle. Y'all pardon me. I'm going to just apologize right from the get-go with that. Patreon members, tentatively, our quilt retreat is going to be Saturday the 14th. I'm still waiting to concrete some plans with some family members, so I can't yet 100% say, but tentatively pencil in Saturday the 14th as our quilt retreat day. Okay. And next week, y'all, next week I have something that is very creative and so much fun that we're going to do here on the live. It'll be different. I think I have done this on my channel, but it was a long time ago. But next week, we're going to be taking free motion standing lace. If you don't have any, it's okay because you can use a gazillion different things around your house to do this with. We're going to make some Christmas cards using a jelly plate. And I am going to use some freestanding lace that I'm going to embroider sometime this week. And we're going to make some Christmas cards. I can hardly wait. So next week, this is what we're doing. If you've never seen this, this is a set of 3 jelly plates. I have a whole bunch of different jelly plates, y'all, but next week we're going to use this one right here with some freestanding lace. It's going to be so much fun. So that's what you got to look forward to for next week. Yes, we're looking forward to it. Sunday is going to be a good day. A good day for sure. Okay, so like many of you, I watch YouTube videos in my free time when we're just sitting in the evenings and watching shows. Mimi, what are you doing? Hi. What are you doing, girl? She wants me to go let her outside. That's May May. Do you see her? She wants me to go let her outside. Thank you, Catherine. What was I saying? I watch YouTube videos just like everybody, just like y'all do, right? So I was watching a video by Simply Delilah. Have y'all seen her YouTube channel? I have linked it down in the description box so you can check it out, okay? She was making a mug rug, I think that's what it was, or a hot pad in the video that I linked. And she showed something and it blew my mind. And I love to give credit where credit is due, because why didn't I ever think of this? But it is brilliant, and I'm going to start incorporating this idea for the opening, for turning everything right side out. It is brilliant. And so if you haven't checked out her YouTube channel, it's linked also in the description box and you can check it out, okay? And when we get to that point, you'll be like, wow, why didn't I ever think of that? I have not been making any journals lately. It's like I have all these things I want to do and never enough time to do them. But you know what we did yesterday? Well, I made some homemade noodles for our supper last night. You cannot buy pasta that was that delicious. But yesterday, like a week or so ago, I rearranged my room, right? Yesterday, I had the bright idea to flip my long arm frame, which barely fits in this room sideways. Yesterday, that was the task, and we rotated that frame and everything that's underneath that frame, which is a lot. And so that's what we did yesterday. There's never enough time to do all the things, is there? But I saw those jelly plates yesterday. I was like, you know what? I haven't used those in a while. Let's make some Christmas cards. So that's what we're doing next Friday. All right, y'all come on down here. Pardon me. This is my hanging trivet. I say trivet, it's a good size. Look, it's almost 12 inches. Let's measure it and see how big it is. Roughly 11.5 by 11.5. That's a good size trivet, right? And we're gonna put a hanger in it. There is no printable pattern for this. Y'all can't see me. Hold on a second. Here I am. There's no printable pattern for this, but I'm going to give you all the measurements. And you know what? You don't even need them, right? You could really make this any size you want to. Basically, it's a square and a square block, right, with a little border. Super easy, and I'm going to walk you through it. Before we get started, I just want to say thank you to my moderators. Thank you, Mimsy, for keeping an eye on the chat. I will be at the sewing machine a little bit today, so y'all keep that in mind. All right, are y'all ready to get started on this? It is so much fun. It is super duper easy. Look, I just quilted it very simply. This is a good project if you have someone in your life who you want to teach quilting to or teach sewing. This is a perfect project for them. Very, very, very easy. So what we're going to do, let me put that off to the side for a minute, is we're going to start with 2 squares of fabric. Now, if you want the size that I made, right, that's going to finish at 11.5 by 11.5, you can just write down these measurements, but you don't have to use these, right? You could do this with any size pieces. These 2 squares here are 4.5 by 4.5, right? 4.5 by 4.5, 4.5 by 4.5. We're going to put right sides together, and we're going to sew all the way around all 4 sides with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. That heat, it's gonna be a long winter, y'all. I already feel it. It's gonna be a long winter, I think. Let's come on over to the sewing machine. Let's bring this over. And I'm gonna set my 1/4 inch seam allowance. And we're just gonna line up these two fabrics so that all the edges are lined up. My fingers don't want to work today. Hold on a second. It's easier for me to do it this way. There we go. All the edges are lined up. You could mark your little 1/4 inch seam so that you could just stop and pivot and turn your block if you want to. I just sew off the edge and turn and just do that all the way around, okay? That's 2 sides. I should have used some darker thread so you could see the stitching. All right, so we've sewn a 1/4 inch seam allowance on all 4 sides. Oh, you can't see the stitching really on that side either. Let's come on over here because I'm going to heat up my iron. And I'm just going to give that piece a little press. Like you said, it's very cloudy and chilly here in Southeast Pennsylvania today. I think I need a whole house humidifier. Usually we put one in our bedroom, which I haven't yet. We haven't turned the heat on upstairs. But I could really use one downstairs too. As soon as we turn that heat on, my nose just stops right up. All right. I should have put some brown thread in that machine today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take just a straight edge ruler, right? And I'm going to line up from corner to corner. And I'm going to take a little pin and I'm going to draw myself a line from edge to edge in both directions. Many of y'all have made this quilt block before. Just like so. Then we're going to pull apart the 2 fabric layers, right? And we're going to separate them. And I'm going to take a pair of scissors and carefully snip right in the center on that line. And then insert my scissors, and we're going to carefully cut right on that line all the way to the stitching in each corner. These little scissors came with my sewing machine, And they are the best little scissors ever. They're super duper sharp. They cut so cleanly, and they cut all the way to the very tip. Have you ever had scissors that cut nicely, but they didn't seem to quite cut all the way to the very tip of the blade? These cut all the way to the very tip. So we're going to just cut all the way to the sewn corners, all four. And then we're just going to give this a press, right? I'll press these two out. And then I'll press these two out. Minzy, the two squares that we started off with were 4.5 by 4.5. Now we're just going to let that cool off for just a second. All right, let's come back over here. So this is what we have now, right? So let's remeasure this. 5.5 by 5.5. So what I've done is pre-cut a square that's 5.5 by 5.5. And we're going to put right sides together, just like so. And you might find it helpful just to throw a couple pins in there, right? Especially if you're like me and your sleeves hit things and move everything around. There we go. Just to keep it from shifting, we're going to take this to the sewing machine and we're going to sew all four sides again. One more side. See how simple this is? Now, if you're starting from another measurement, because really you can start with your first two squares any size that you want, right? Once you press, cut and open everything up and press everything, if you measure from that stage, you'll know how big to cut your next square that you're adding, right? And you could make this block as big, keep going as much as you wanted to. So again, we're going to take our pen and from corner to corner, we're going to mark our lines. And we're going to pull and separate the two layers. and do a little snip right in the middle. Brenda, you're new here on my channel. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for hanging out with us. We do all kinds of stuff here. Recently, we just finished up a huge, long project. It was a mystery quilt that was totally paper pieced. That was a lot of fun. Speaking of mystery quilts, I got to quilt one for Miss Jeannie this week. She finished hers and sent it to me. So I got to quilt her mystery quilt. That was a huge honor. These little tidbits, see that right there? The little tidbits from the previous block underneath. I'm just going to cut those away at this point. They don't really need to be there. And it's just going to add some extra bulkiness. So I'm going to go ahead and just trim those off. And then we're going to go and press these out, okay? I like to just give that a press first, though. I have, speaking of Black Friday, although these fabrics have been in my cart for about a week and a half. I need to go check out. I'm getting ready to place an order for some of the prettiest fabrics over at Marshall's Dry Goods. I had to wait and see what my budget was going to be for December, though, before I did that. See, isn't that pretty? You could stop there and make quilt blocks just like that, right? You certainly could, but we're going to continue and we're going to add one more square to this. The next square we're going to add, let me just give that a measure, is 7 inches by 7 inches. Okay, so that's how big I've cut this. What is this? The third round? 7 inches by 7 inches. And we're going to put the right side facing down and line it up. There we go. I'm just going to throw a couple little pins in there. I have threads all over the place, y'all. Here and there, I've been working on a blue crab art quilt that is predominantly thread painting. But I'm going to come in and paint it once I'm done with all the stitching. I have little threads all over the place. All right, we're going to go and sew around all 4 corners or 4 sides again. All right. Now I'm going to take this and just press that real quick before we move on. Let me take the pins out. Let me just press that flat right over here. Because when I remember, that's really when I want to do it, is press it before we mark it, right? So here we are. And we're going to, one more time, draw some lines from corner to corner. I feel like I have to sneeze. Here's our first line. And our second line. I'm going to go ahead and cut off all those little tidbits. And then we're going to separate those layers one more time. Patsy, you've been making some bucket hats too? I tell you what, I've made 4 of them. I have not made them since I purchased a different pattern. I was using a free pattern I got off of design bundles, right? But I found a YouTube video that was so helpful, and she sells her pattern, so I went and I bought it, but I have not made any bucket hats since getting that new pattern, although I really want to. Again, so many things to do, never enough time to do all the things. But I cannot wait to sit down and try out that new pattern. I had so much fun making them though once I figured out what to do. I don't think the instructions were very easy from the free pattern I got. So I used the templates that came with the pattern, and I used a different person's YouTube video and figured it out. But each hat I made some adjustments. So all 4 hats are slightly different in the way I made them. But I had a lot of fun, and they're super cute. All right, so there's those cuts. Let's give this a press. I love this white fabric with the little yellow flowers on it. It reminds me of a bed sheet that I had a long time ago. Those are all of the little squares that we're going to add. That's as big as the center of this block, but you could keep on going, right? And it would be super simple. You just measure the block at this stage, and that's how big you cut your next block that goes on top, right? And you just keep adding from there if you want to make it bigger. So isn't that so pretty? What I'm going to do at this point, since we're not adding anything else to it, I'm going to go ahead and just cut off these little nuggets right there. They don't need to be there. And now we're going to add some borders. So my little borders, let's measure those so I don't tell you the wrong measurement, and I would have. 2 inches is how wide I cut my borders, right? You could make them wider if you wanted to. I'm just going to roughly measure them out just a little bit longer. We're going to add our first two sides like this and like this with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, right? And then we'll accurately square that up as soon as we press it. All right, let's come back here. There's our first side. Let me just make sure that that's straightened up. There we go. Okay, there's the first two sides. And we're going to give this a press. You can, of course, press these seams open if you like. But pressing it over to the side like that is going to come in so handy here in just a second. So this is the part that my mind was blown. I was like, are you serious? How simple was that? Why did I never think about that? It was genius. All right, let's come back over here. I'm going to just clean this up just a little bit, right? I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of the little bit of extra and square that up real quick. Which I usually do a better job, not with this ruler, but I didn't bring my other ruler over. So let's just use this one because it's right here. Let's flip it around and do this side. This ruler, when I use this ruler in my rotary cutter, I'm always scared. Like my fingers are right on the edge there. That makes me nervous. So I'm just gonna do tiny little cuts. All right, she's nice and squared up, pretty and even. Now we're gonna take our next two border fabrics, right? We need to, I'm just like last time, I'm gonna make them just a little bit longer. It's just a little bit easier to work with like that. Again, these are 2 inches wide. One side, we're gonna sew completely from one edge to the other, right? All the way down. This side, we're gonna sew and we're gonna stop somewhere in here and do a back stitch. And then we're gonna skip down, however big you want your opening. We're gonna do a back stitch and we're gonna sew off the edge. That is where our opening is gonna be. Dude, the iron is right there. Do you not see? I'm filming a YouTube video. All right, so we're going to bring this to the sewing machine. The first side, I'm going to sew all the way to the edge. We're going to leave the opening for the second side. There we go. Now he wants to go outside. Where's your father, cat? Huh? Where's your father? All right, right off the edge. We're going to flip her around. We're going to bring in the second side. Get it nice and lined up straight. And then we're going to stop. Now, wherever you want your opening to be, right? I'm going to stop right about there, and I'm going to do a few back stitches. And I'm going to go ahead and just break the thread, tie it off right there. And then, however big you want your opening to be, you're going to just jump down. I'm going to take a couple stitches and back stitch. That's going to lock that in there. And we're sewing right off the edge. Okie doke. All right, so I really should have done some dark thread. You can't even really see my thread right there, but there's my little opening right there. See that? Let's bring this over to the pressing board because I'm going to show you something that I found really helpful for me. Okay. This first side, this is the side that has the complete seam all the way from one edge to the next. I'm going to set that seam. And then we're pressing. Now this side is the side that has our opening. Okay, our opening, see that right there? Let's go ahead and just set that seam nice and flat, right? Now, before I flip that fabric over, what I have found super duper helpful for me, y'all know, is a glue stick, right? And where that seam opening is, I'm going to take my glue stick and I'm going to run just a little bit of glue right where that opening is. And now when I flip this fabric over, it's going to glue stick itself to itself right in that seam allowance, and it is going to give me a very nice pristine finish right along the edge. Now the heat from the iron is going to dry that glue very quickly. See how nice and perfect that edge is? But watch. Look at that. Isn't that just like mind-blowing? Okay, so that's our opening. And from here on out, it is super, super easy, right? So here's the top of our trivet. Let's go ahead and bring in the fabric. If you want to make a little hanger, right? Let me give you the measurements for this real quick. You can cut this however big you want it to be, right? But mine, I cut it 2.5 inches wide, right? And this one I cut a little bit over 8.25 inches long. I really don't want the hanger that long, but I like having a little bit of extra. Okay, we're going to bring this over to the sewing machine. And the first thing I'm going to do is long ways. I'm going to fold it right in half. And I'm not really paying close attention to my seam allowance. I'm just going to sew a straight stitch close to the edge of this fabric. Okay, close, like, I don't even know how far away it is. Less than 1/4 inch, okay? It's going to be right close to the edge. And now the thread will show up. See that? See how close it is? Now we can just open this up. Like this. And I like to just center that seam in the middle, right? You can even give this a press if you want to. But I'm just folding it over like so. See that? So that seam is just hidden right in the middle. Now we're just going to sew this all the way. Now you could get fancy and sew another line on there too, right? Just to make it look a little bit more uniform. But I think that that is super cute. So there is our little hanger like that. And now we can bring in all of our layers, right? What I've done is I've cut a piece of batting that's just a little bit bigger than my block top, right? And then we're going to lay the back fabric down first. And then we're going to bring in our block. And we're going to center that right over top of the back fabric. You know what? Let me go ahead and measure this back fabric while I'm at it, so I can tell you what size to pre-cut that if you want to. "12 inches by 12 inches. The batting I just cut a little bit bigger because I'm going to trim this up just a little bit anyway once we're all done before I flip it right side out. And you know what? I think I'm going to take a couple of pins and just pin this together so it doesn't really shift so much as we're sewing this all the way around one more time. And this time, when we're sewing all the way around the edge, we do not have to leave the space for the opening, right? So that's lovely. Right, Kathy? Kathy said, that secret opening is so cool. I know, my mind, I was watching this, and I guess it was about 10:30 at night, and I was like, what? How genius was that? I was so impressed. And then I was like, how have I been doing it the hard way for 50 years? 50 years! I've been struggling. Not 50 years, but it seems like 50 years I've been struggling with the openings. Y'all have heard me say so many times, like, y'all be patient with me as I flip this right side out and get that opening tucked in as pretty as I can. Wait until we turn this right side out. You're gonna be like, that is just awesome. Oh, but my hanger. I almost forgot my hanger. I was so excited about, what did I do with my hanger? Here it is. I almost forgot about my hanger. Let's unpin this one corner here, because it doesn't matter so much which corner you put it in, does it? So I'm going to take my hanger like so. And I like to do mine so it's not all bulky like that, right? I kind of like to crisscross just a little bit like that. And I'm going to position it so that I know when we sew all the way around in that 1/4 inch seam allowance, I'm going to catch the ends of that hanger, right? And it's getting tucked up underneath of, or in the middle, between the back fabric and the top of this block. Like so. It's a little bulky right there pinning that, but I'm going to start on this side right there and just make sure that that thing doesn't move around as I sew all the rest of the edges. So now we're going to set that 1/4 inch seam allowance again, right? And we're going all the way around all 4 sides from edge to edge. Now my batting is a little thick. She's thick. That's not Warm and Natural. I think that is Toasty brand batting from Joann's. I couldn't be for certain because I've had it for a really long time. But I'm pretty sure that that's what it is. And she's on the thicker side, which is perfect for a trivet. But I can tell that it's not wanting to feed through there very evenly with a 2.5 stitch length. So I'm just going to bump it up to a 3, and I guarantee you she will feed through a lot easier. Oh yeah. Look, I didn't even trim off my extra length on those second set of borders. Look, there's one of my threads from my thread basting. All right, we have one more side to do. I think that pin was going to get right in the way. See how easy that is? See why I say if you have someone you're going to be teaching, this is such a great project. And I feel like it's fun. Even, you know how some projects that are beginner friendly, once you have quite a bit of experience, some projects are a little boring sometimes, maybe. I have had so much fun making these this past week. And they're super, super simple, but they're so much fun. I don't think I sewed that very straight right there. Now I'm going to just take a pair of scissors. You could take a pair of rotary cutters if you want. And I'm going to just trim up this extra bulk in the seam allowance all the way around. I'm going to snip those corners. I think I'm going to give a couple of these trivets and some gift baskets at Christmas time. We are putting together some gift baskets for the kids and for my brother and his wife. Couple of friends of ours. Don't you think that these would make such nice little presents in a gift basket? All right, one more side. And then y'all are going to see how that opening works. Can y'all hear my chickens? Harlan's home today. He has off of work today. So he has all the chickens out. They're all roaming everywhere. And there's a couple of them right outside my studio right there. Okay, so because again, the light thread, it's hard for y'all to see. But in person, I can see that there's no thread right there. That's where my little opening is. See that? Now watch how easy this is. Now look, because I glue basted that seam, see how it's laying down nice and flat right there? I can leave a nice big opening. I'm not struggling like normal. See that? Even with the thicker batting. Isn't that lovely? I'm gonna tell you, I was watching that around 10:30 one night. All of a sudden, I was like, I have to go try that out. So I did. I came in here late at night. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? So I sewed this block in a block. And that's how I came up with the trivet, because I had to try this right away. I was like, that is genius. Now I'm just going to take my fingers and poke out all these little edges, right? Poke out the corners. Now I did increase my stitch length, so I'm going to just try to be mindful because I don't want to poke through that longer stitch length to accommodate for that thicker batting. Yeah, I have some beautiful brown fabrics in my shopping cart. In Marshall Dry Goods shopping cart online. And then they were having, I forget the name of the fabric line, but it was like in clearance and there was only like 2 yards of each one of them left. I forget what they were. So I added those to my cart. I hope they're still there. They might not be though, because they've been in the cart for like a week and a half. Here's the corner with my little hanger. See that? But yeah, when I pull the trigger and the fabric comes in, I will show you all the goodies that I got. And now let's flatten her out. See that opening right there? The block itself is going to lay flat. There's the border that I glue basted so it lays nice and pretty. And see that? It lays right over top of that block. Now I'm going to give this a quick little press, real quick, right? Just to flatten it out a little bit. I reckon you don't have to. But I'm just going to take and flatten out those edges just a little bit. Can you tell which side has the opening? No. Now let's come right back over here, because all we have to do to finish this up is one simple straight stitch. But we don't have to do it around the edge because our opening isn't there, right? We're going to do a little straight stitch right close to that seam line in the border, and that's going to sew shut our opening. Now this is the side with our opening. See that? I can stick my finger right in there. Isn't that so pretty? Now you could have a lot of fun with different quilting designs inside that block, right? But I kept mine really super simple with just like a straight stitch. And let's just walk through that real quick. And then I'm just going to do a simple stitch right inside that center square, right? The cool thing is there's no rules. So you could do a little stitch in the ditch around each one of these shapes if you wanted to. I'm going to tell you what, since I found the toasty quilt batting in my big bin of scrap batting, and I've used it this week, look how one layer of quilt batting puffs up like that. I do like that a lot. Like, to get this level of puffy, you have to use 2 layers of Warm and Natural. But isn't that just so brilliant and so pretty and simple, right? I think what I love about this project so much is that it looks super more complicated than it actually is. And I love that. I love projects that look harder than what they actually are. Let me just trim some little strings here. See how simple and beautiful that is? Very simple quilting, right? What do y'all think? Isn't that so pretty? So pretty. Now, y'all, I've missed a lot of the conversation. Let me come back and see. That's the downside of teaching in a live, is that I miss all the conversation. Nita, yes, you'll have to come back on the replay. This is so much fun, you're going to want to make some. Yeah, Dari said the seam opening is genius. I know, I thought so too. And look how perfect it is. Like, looking at it now, you don't even know which side that the opening was on. Sorry, y'all. I've been sneezing all day. Kathy got a new machine. She got her brother PE 900 so she can make freestanding lace for Christmas ornaments. Don't you just love making those? Well, guess what, Kathy? Next week, we're going to be using some freestanding lace ornaments to make some Christmas cards using a jelly plate. It's going to be so much fun. And if you don't have an embroidery machine and you don't have freestanding lace ornaments, you could use a doily from the Dollar Tree, right? But I am going to sew sometime this week a freestanding lace ornament and show y'all how to use the jelly plate to make some Christmas cards with it. Now my nose is running. Sanderson said, that's the cutest sneeze I've ever heard. Can I just be really honest with y'all? Like, I just share way too much information. But some people are going to relate to this, right? Since I've gotten my new teeth, it is so hard to sneeze. Does anybody else know my struggles? I think it is so hard to sneeze if you have plastic teeth. I share way too much. Like, I have no scruples about saying that, though. I probably should. Right, Sally? You're so welcome. I hope y'all make some of these. Yes, Jackie, you could make some of these. Like, you don't even really, like, I gave you the measurements of each of the squares as we went along, right? You don't even really have to pre-cut squares. You can just pull out your scrap bin, right? cut yourself out 2 squares to begin with. So cut, press, grab another scrap, put 2 right sides together, sew around the edge, right? But yes, super fun, super easy. And I think you could definitely make like a set of 4 really quickly for a Christmas present, for a birthday present, housewarming present, right? Sherry, that is so funny. Sherry said, I thought you were going to say when I sneeze, I wet my pants. Not yet. I'm not there yet. But when I sneeze, I almost lose my teeth. That's funny. See into the sun. That's what I'm so scared of. And especially when I'm filming live on YouTube, I'm like, please, Lord, just let my teeth stay in place. Oh, I share way too much. Nita, when you come back on the replay, you're going to be so surprised at how easy it is. You're going to love making these. Oh, Linda, yes, if you swap this out for Christmas fabric, how pretty would that be, right? Yes. I think as part of the gift baskets I'm putting together, I think I'm going to take this to the embroidery machine and do a monogram or a name in the middle, right? How pretty would that be? With like a yellow thread. Wouldn't that be so sweet? That's my plan. I've made a couple of them. One I've already given away. I've already given one away. But yeah, I have these 2, and I might make a couple more because they're so simple, right? And they really don't take that long. That's a nice size little trivet, right? Aw, Dari, tell them we all say hi. Nita, that is so funny. If that happened to me, you better believe I'd be laughing. I'd be horrified if it happened while I was streaming, making a video, but it would still be funny. Hello, Hazel. How are you? How are you doing? I hope you had a wonderful week. How are you feeling? Yes, I guess I should have done some different fabrics to give y'all some color variations. But when I was cutting out for this one, I cut out for this one at the same time. I could have done something different though. Yeah, these will be easy to mail, right? So, yes, freestanding lace Christmas cards next week. That's what we're doing. I one time made, and I don't think I have any pictures of it on this computer. I one time printed a whole bunch of quilt blocks with my jelly plate and some fabric paint, and that made the prettiest quilt ever. It was so pretty. It looked like Venetian tiles. I think there's a YouTube video on it. It's probably like 4 years ago or so. Anyway, I'm going to use my jelly plates next week. So I hope y'all If you can't make it live, I hope you come back on the replay. Get it some inspiration for something different and something fun. Mary, that's what I'm so scared of. I'm so scared of that happening. But, oh, Santa the Sun said, what is freestanding lace? Do I have any pieces near me? So with the embroidery machine, you can hoop some water-soluble stabilizer, and then there's tons and tons of designs. Matter of fact, I purchased the prettiest one off of Etsy like year before last of a manger scene. And I'm pretty sure that's what I'm going to stitch out this week. And it's like a little lace ornament. And once it stitches out with the embroidery machine, you put it in water and the water soluble disappears and melts away, right? And you're left with just a lace ornament. So much fun. Now, if you don't have an embroidery machine, I showed freestanding lace without an embroidery machine. And I'm trying to think how many years ago that was. Just a few years ago. Like some snowflakes and stuff. But anyway, that's what freestanding lace is. It's like a lace ornament. Only made with thread. There's no fabric in it. Oh, Faye said, what is a jelly plate? Let me show you. Now I have several different ones. But this one is my Ranger's one. It has 3 of them in there. See that little circle one? And then there's this longer, skinnier one. And then there's this one right here. And let me just pull one out for you. It's for printing. Tell you what, if you don't have anything else to do the rest of the day, you could go to YouTube and search jelly plate printing. See that? It's not sticky. It feels like those Jello jigglers that my Nana used to make a long time ago that we used to eat, and you could cut them out and you know, with cookie cutters and stuff. It's not sticky, but it's squishy. You can make your own jelly plates. And they come in many different sizes, right? But you use this and you can print on paper, cardstock, fabric. I made a whole quilt with blocks I've printed with my jelly plate. I did link this down in the description box if you want to check it out. This is a set of 3, right? But they sell them individually, which is way cheaper, just to let you know. I also have a few more. I have an 8.5 by 11, right? So I could do a whole sheet of paper. And then I have a bigger one, which is like 11 by 16 or something like that. But I grabbed these because this is about the size of the cardstock I'm going to use next week. Folded in half. But you can print all kinds of textures and stuff. Like, see the back? There's some ideas. So much fun. Like, if you have a creative brain, or even if you don't, I feel like you can make some really cool stuff with these. I will try to find pictures of that quilt. I've posted them on Facebook, but again, that was like 4 years ago. But I did a quilt and it looks like Venetian tiles. I don't think it's in here, or else I would show you. Trying to remember where it is. I think it's upstairs. So I'm going to be printing with acrylic paint. And I'm going to have a little brayer roller and a jelly plate and some cardstock. And I'm going to stitch out a little ornament, and we're going to make impressions of the lace ornament in the paint on the plate. And then we're going to take prints off of that to make Christmas cards. Yes, Hazel. I thought I did a tutorial on it, but it's been a few years. It is so much fun. Well, I mean, I think it's fun. One day before we moved here, and it was winter time, right? And the weather was nasty out, and I was like, Mom, do you want to have a crafting day one day? We'll sit in the sunroom. This was at our other house. I'll bring down my jelly plates and some paint and some papers and some magazines and stuff, and we'll do jelly plate printing. It's so much fun. And she was like, yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Let's do it. So I brought all this stuff downstairs, right? All this stuff. And I had a blast. My mom, she did not find it enjoyable at all. So when I say it's going to be so much fun, I think it's a lot of fun. I want you to check it out, and you might think it's a lot of fun, and you might not, because we're all different, right? My mom, she didn't enjoy it so much. I think it is a blast, and it is so much fun. So if you've never heard of it, do some research on YouTube about it, right? There's tons and tons of videos. Channels that are just dedicated to doing jelly plate printing, right? That's all they do on their channel. Check them out and see what it's all about. That's what we're doing next week. Dari, you found it. Thank you so much. Mary, I'm going to be using some embroidery thread. I'm not sure which one yet. I have some Brother Red thread, a whole bunch of it that I wouldn't mind using. So if that works, that's what I'm going to use, just embroidery thread. All right, y'all. I am off. I have a couple of things I need to get done before the end of today. Tomorrow, I'm cooking some pumpkin pies and making some cranberry relish. Y'all are all resting up. Y'all have done all the cooking and all the eating, and now you have leftovers, right? I haven't even started my cooking yet. Tomorrow starts my cooking. And then Sunday's the big cooking day, right? And I'm looking forward to it so much. I hope y'all have all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. And, you know, we're gearing up for Christmas. Blink an eye, and it'll be the end of December. That's how fast it's going to go by. Yes, you can make cards right on your embroidery machine. Yes. Absolutely. I like showing things that people don't see often. Do you know what I'm saying? So we're going to do a little bit of a different variation of a Christmas card. But I'm using my embroidery machine. I'm going to already have the ornament done though, because that takes a minute for it to stitch out, right? And then you have to melt away the stabilizer and let it set up first, right? But I'll also maybe have a couple of doilies that you can pick up, you know, at a thrift shop, yard sale, Dollar Tree. You might already have a whole bunch of them, and we'll do some printing with that too. All right, everybody. If you make these hanging trivets, I would love to see them. I'd love to see what fabrics you used. Hey, boy, come here. That iron is on, buddy. Come on. It's not like my other iron. You can't really sit there while it's on. Look at him holding on for dear life. You can let go, buddy. All right, everybody. I'm going to go stick this cat outside before he drives me nutsos. I hope y'all have a fantastic, safe rest of your weekends. Yeah, I look forward to having a lot of fun with you next Friday for something a little bit different. You ready to go outside? Let's go. Let's go, boy. Bye, everybody.